Okay, guys, so for this week, for week 4, we are going to be drawing a landscape that is full of Texas wildflowers. So on our first page is always our introduction, and remember to use whatever supplies that you can find in your house. Could be markers, crayons, paints, could be a mixed media type of art where you're using a little bit of crayons and a little bit of paint, or a little bit of paint and a little bit of markers, so you can mix it up. Maybe you need to go outside and you can actually collect real wildflowers and you can include them in your design. Or if you have some scrap papers around, you can cut and glue them in. So you can use just about anything that you can find in your house to create this. Just use your imagination. Remember, you also do not have to do this lesson all in one sitting. You can break it up 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there until you get it done. And most importantly, have fun with it. So when we're looking at our wildflowers, we're actually going to learn to really look at what we are drawing. So a couple things to consider when we are learning to look at something, especially the flowers. We're going to be thinking about our flowers today, our wildflowers. So we're going to learn to look at them. So some questions to think about when you're looking through that slideshow or you're looking at real flowers. What shapes do you see? So if I'm looking at this one, what shapes am I seeing? I might be seeing some circles and maybe some ovals in here for these little daisy type of flowers that I see. Some other flowers might have different shapes. Some might remind you of a raindrop or maybe a heart. So there's lots of different kinds of shapes that you might see. Maybe a half of a circle or a half of an oval. So what kind of shapes do you see? The next question to consider when looking is, what colors do you see? So I'm looking again at my daisies. I see some little oranges and I see some yellows in these flowers. On my blue bonnet, I see some purples and some whites and some blues and greens. So what colors do you see? Then what about the size of the flowers? Are some of the flowers bigger or smaller than others? Maybe this flower is a bigger flower than these here. And how many petals are on your flower, and count them. Do you see 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe even more? When I counted these, I saw 13 petals on these flowers. And these I might have more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, maybe 11 or 12 on here. So there's probably more than you think. And then some of them may only have 3 or 4 on it. So we want to be able to look and see how many petals are on that. Then putting it all together, thinking of the shapes and colors and sizes and how many petals, you're going to practice drawing some of the wildflowers. Once again, you can look at that slideshow that is available to you. You can get some pictures from the internet. You can go outside and get real wildflowers. So use those pictures and use the things that are available to you to help you draw. So to practice, I want to do more than one. You can see that I've got some that I drew underneath here. But I'm looking at these flowers. And so for my blue bonnet, I see that when I look at it, that it is a stalk or a stem. And the flowers actually come from the stem itself. And these shapes remind me of ovals or circles. So to make this easier, I can draw my stem first. That's that stalk that's underneath it. And it's going to kind of branch out a little bit. And maybe using like a half a circle or a full circle, I can start to fill in where I think I need some circles. Even there's might be one in front here. And then I've got, this usually blooms to some pretty white flowers. This one hasn't opened up and bloomed yet. But that reminds me of a triangle. Kind of a triangle shape on top with other little flowers in it. So as I'm looking and I'm creating today, I'm creating what I want these to look like. Then maybe looking at my daisies. It's the same thing. Look, I see a circle, an orange circle on the inside. And then I know I have 13 petals. I may not be able to fit all 13 around it, but they're longer petals. They're a little bit different than this. These are wider. These are longer. They're longer petals, and they go all the way around my flower, and they form a circle also. So I just draw it all the way around. So just kind of practice. Take a little time and practice drawing your flowers. And take a few minutes. Here I drew 4 of them. I had, well, 5 of them actually. I had a little blue bonnet, some daisies, and I'm not sure what this one was. This one was one of those white flowers that had the purple on it as well. And it only had 3 petals. I only counted 3. So here's my practice. Then when you're done practicing, you're ready to create your landscape with your wildflowers. And there's so many different ways to do that. So I'm going to show you a couple ways that I've started out. First thing is I grabbed a piece of white paper and I started with something called an undercolor. So all I wanted to do is I wanted to draw a horizon line. Horizon line's the line where the land and the sky touch. And then using my paints, very lightly, I took my paints and I painted some, green for the grass and some blue for the sky. You can use any color that you want to. So that's kind of a painted background. I don't have any wildflowers in it yet. But I wanted it to paint and I wanted it to be dry before I did anything on top of that one. If you don't have paints, here's another one I did using just crayons. I did it very lightly because I'm going to color and draw on top of it. So again, this is just an undercolor. Or another way of doing this is to take some color paper. And so I just cut a piece of green paper in half, kind of made it a little bit bumpy for the land, and glued it onto a blue background. You can use any colors you want. Maybe you want your sky yellows or oranges, or you're going to color some things in your skies. So these are just some ways. You can take pages from magazines, pages from books, just some regular white paper if you wanted to. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to grab this painted one, and I want to work on this one today. So I have different things that I can use to create my flowers. So first off, I can start with markers if I wanted to. And if I wanted to do a blue bonnet, a couple ways I can create that. And I might want to get my sketch that I did earlier that would remind me how to draw my blue bonnet. And if it's closer, it might be bigger. If it's further back, they might be smaller. And then using some different colors, I can draw those circles and things on my paper. Fill that in. Maybe there's a big one that's right there and some little ones. Now, if I was doing a field of blue bonnets, I'd do a whole bunch of them and just fill this up. I can take some crayons, maybe some pretty blues and some other colors. I can color it in if I wanted to. I could take some paints. Oops. Grab a little bit of blue. This time it'll be a little bit darker. I can paint in my blue bonnets with the paint brushes. If I don't have any paint brushes, something that you could probably use, got it over here, maybe some Q-tips. Get my Q-tip a little bit wet. And I can dip it into my paint. Get a little bit on my Q-tip and I can dab it into my blue bonnet. Make an easy way to create a blue bonnet there, or any other flowers that I might want to create. If you don't mind getting your fingers a little dirty, and paint will stain your fingers, so you may not want to do this. This is just an idea. You can get a little paint And you can do some fingerprints to make your blue bonnets. So there's a lot of different ways that you can make these wildflowers. Then I can add a couple more. Maybe I want to do a couple of the daisies. So I know that one has a circle with the petals going around it. Draw that in pencil, make it nice and big. Can outline it with some colors, or again, I can take some paints or whatever I have. Maybe we have some yellow paper. Oops, I did not clean my brush very well. That's not good. Let's clean that off a little bit. There we go. And I can paint. Now I'm putting yellow on top of green, so I'm getting more of a yellow-green because the colors are mixing together. So you can paint them, color them. You can cut out your flowers if you would like to. There's so much, so many ideas that I bet you have for ways of creating your landscape. The more flowers you create in here, the prettier your picture will become. Draw some pretty little wind kind of going through, because it's a windy day today. So add your flowers, create a whole bunch of them, all different colors, all different sizes. You can even draw yourself in your picture. You can draw your family, you can draw your pets. Maybe they're in a patch of bluebonnets, and then there's bluebonnets all around. And you're just going to fill in your picture, and you're going to create your landscape with your bluebonnets. Have fun.